Welcome back to Champion News Talk Radio, brought to you by championnews.net. This is Carol Parisi. Today, our founder, Jack Roeser, and myself have Tom Weber with us. And Jack, during the break, what did you say was a profound statement from Mark Twain?
Well, I was picking up on you. You're talking about all these perks in government and unnecessary expenses and so forth. I think it was Mark Twain said that we're quite lucky that we don't get all the government we pay for.
Well, because a too large government doesn't just lead to higher taxes.
It's kind of a curse instead of a help. Wow. They ought to leave us alone. That's all we want.
Well, they too much debt, and it impedes economic growth for a small business such as Tom Weber, who is running for county board in Lake County. This is Tom's piece. It's a very nice piece, Tom. Now, Tom, what you were talking about some FOIAs, and you were saying perks. What are some of these perks? FOIA, Freedom of Information Act. Transparency. That's what the people want, is transparency.
And they must respond to your reply, right?
Absolutely. Right, yes. Within how many days?
They've got a right to know the evil content of their machinations and our spending of our money.
Well, and this is a citizen's right to go ahead and get a Freedom of Information Act and fill it out, to look under the hood to see how they're spending our money.
Right, absolutely. And if anyone ever wants to FOIA, feel free to email me at tom@weberforcountyboard.com, and I will send them a FOIA sheet that I use, that I wrote myself. And in all honesty, most government bodies that I've exercised my Freedom of Information rights have responded pretty well overall. I would say 90% of the villages and cities responded pretty quick. But people need to be aware of what their village boards are doing and what some of these contracts are. I've seen everything from home security systems for village administrators to second mortgages on their homes.
What?
Yes.
On their private residences?
Yes, a private economic benefit is given in some of these contracts. I saw one where it was a $78,000 second mortgage towards the purchase of a home. And what the reason they give is because they want the village administrator to live within the city limits. So they give them a second mortgage.
And live well.
And live well, yes.
But this is on taxpayer dollars.
Absolutely, and that's my problem with it, is I do not want my taxpayer dollars buying an economic asset for someone else, because after he leaves as village administrator, that he keeps that property and it becomes of value to him, not to me.
And we're going to build a governor's mansion for this guy locally. Is that it?
Right.
He's going to be a public servant, so got to build him a beautiful building.
Jack, that is not the icing on the cake with these village administrator contracts. The second mortgages that I have seen, and I've seen them on at least 4 different villages in our county, the second mortgage is, first of all, no payments. Secondly, 0 interest. And third thing is, after either signing the contract or possibly a year of employment, the villages start to pay the loan off for the administrator.
Wait a minute.
Is this even legal?
I question that, but it's part of a contract, so that's...
This is on your taxpayer dollars in Lake County, people. Folks, listeners in Lake County, this is on your taxpayer dollars.
Now, granted, this is not involved as much with the county board, but people need to get informed of what their local village and taxing bodies are doing, because Lake County, our taxes are 413% above the national average.
Say that again.
413% above the national average.
Now, let's make it clear. You weren't part of running up the tax bill like that. You're in there to straighten this mess out.
Absolutely.
I've met the relatively new, I think he's been in a year or so, the Republican county chairman.
Yes,
a guy named Bob Cook.
Mm-hmm.
He's been there about a year.
It's been a little over a year. He's
From what I've seen, that's a healthy change. Yeah. And let's hope we can get a better class of people elected to these important jobs.
Yes, I campaigned hard for Bob Cook, even though I'm not a precinct committeeman. I contacted a lot of precinct committeemen, and I thought Bob Cook was a very stand-up guy. And, I think he's done a fine job while he's been in there.
You have a lot of leadership qualities, Tom. You are an action-oriented person. You see a problem and you take action and implement action for a solution. And that shows great leadership, which qualifies you to be running for...
There's nobody more at the core of all of the different things that are going on in a business than to be a builder. It's so practical with a real workman that actually can, take raw materials and construct a nice home. At the same time, dealing with a bunch of stinking politicians and the regulations that you go through now.
I don't even know.
Do you want to talk about regulations or no?
Okay.
When I look at a government employee now, what's going through my head is I'm paying a salary to that guy and for him to torture me.
Right.
It's not nice that our government is that evil.
Right. Well, and in all honesty, that's one of the reasons, we need an active small business owner to represent the people so they can understand what some of these regulations and mandates are doing to our small business. My own company,
I think we should be listening to college professors and community organizers.
Yeah.
Yeah. How has that worked for us, that Hope and Change, over the past 3.5 years? Are you better off?
Hope for Change is still alive and well.
Yes.
Let's just say that due to the stimulus package, I now have to report my payroll for my employees online. I have new certifications for all my employees that I have to get. I have probably about 3,000 in new expenses just for certifications to do work I've been doing for 29 years. And
that $3,000 could have given someone a small job to do.
Absolutely. And it's hurting us in an economy that's already bad.
It'd be a lot more if they were freewheeling like you would in a decent economy.
Right. It's one of those things when, the economy is bad, when our citizens are being hurt, government needs to dial back to represent the people.
They should grow it bigger to help?
No, absolutely not. Someone has to pay for that, and we all know where that's coming from.
The middle class is...
Well, that's why we've gone in exactly the opposite direction under Obama, and you can certainly look at what a governor in Wisconsin, Scott Walker, has done compared to what Illinois has done. Right. I mean, they did dial back. Illinois, what they do, they came after the businesses. They jacked up income tax for corporations and for people.
Sales taxes.
Yep.
This is the wit and wisdom of Mike Brown from behind the camera.
Who's now in front of the camera.
Who happens to live in Lake County and pay these high property taxes. I mean, if you add it up over a 30-year period of time, for the amount of property tax that I would have paid, I could have bought my home for the same value.
Well, and I have friends that have talked about moving up here, and they've looked at houses, and they're like looking at these $300,000 houses, which are compatible to what they have in the state they're coming from. But then when they look at the tax bill that they would have, they're like, "Holy cow!"
It's 4 times the amount.
It's like a second mortgage.
It's like 4 times the amount.
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends on where you live. But, Mike, I'd like to congratulate you that Lake County is ranked 17th most expensive county in the nation to live, and number 1 in Illinois. So
that's why I'm voting for you, my friend.
Well, you know what? I live in Cook County, and our sales taxes are high. So because of you nice property taxpayers in Lake County, I go and get cheaper sales tax. I mean, we're taxed to death. And Tom, you have decided to step up and run for office because of all of these things, and you have better solutions. You have a lot of notes here. We've got about a minute before we go to break. What would you like to have our listeners hear about you that separates you from...
I got involved to begin with, obviously, because I was upset with the way things are being ran, and seeing that from a government, to business owner perspective. But since I've been running and talking to a lot of people, what I've discovered is the people really need an advocate that's really willing to listen to them and to fight for the things that they believe in.
Not your own little deals that you're going to make for yourself?
No, at first it was personal, and now it's more that I'm feeling for the the taxpayers. I've heard what they had to say, and really they need an advocate.
And here's why it's important to me, because I've seen some of these FOIAs. I've seen what these Republicans and Democrats, I mean, they might show you what they're making as far as their salary, but everything that's under the radar, everything that's under the hood that they don't want you to see. I mean, people are making double what they say they're making in just with their just with their salaries.
Right.
And their cushy health care, cushy pensions, and this is all coming out of our pockets. Somebody's got to say stop. Somebody's got to appreciate what we're going through and what we're paying.
And these consequences grow exponentially worse with every day. But Tom Weber and good conservatives will have the solution for 2012. More after the break.